Welcome to Marketplace Mission. Join us as we explore how visionary leaders navigate challenges, discover purpose in profitability, and create environments where faith and business intersect. Marketplace Mission is your guide to unleashing the power of purpose in the workplace.
Welcome to another episode of Marketplace Mission. Today I'm excited that you're going to get to see what I see, and only because of today's guest, Becky Barlar. Becky is with BarKing Optical, and she's been there for, oh my Lord, I mean the business itself has been over their 65 years of practice. That started with the vision of Dr. Joseph Barlar. Housed in the heart of downtown Mobile, BarKing Optical knows their patients by name, welcomes their patients with expert care, and goes out of their way for their patients. Not only do they provide exams for contacts and eyeglasses, but they handle vision concerns such as glaucomas, cataracts, eye infections, and more. And I can tell you, if you love the glasses that I have on now, I can tell you they came from there. And so for that, I'm super thankful, and I got to know you there. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so you know, I can see you well from here, and that's a good thing. And, you know, when I came to you, I was like, I don't know what's going on with me because I just turned 50, and Miss Becky, I need some help. And so I know you've helped a lot of people before I got there. And so when we look at BarKing from the outside, for someone who doesn't know it as well as me now, and they're looking at it and trying to figure it out from, you know, from right here off of Royal Street, you know, how would you introduce us maybe to what BarKing really is?
Well, we actually have a lot of people that ask us if we work on dog's eyes because of our name, but no, we don't work on dog's eyes. My father's name was Dr. Barlar, and Dr. Joanne King, her last name is King, and so we combined the names to try to continue what my father started in his practice as an optometrist.
So that's an interesting point that you bring up, because your father had a practice and he passed away, and then you had to kind of do some things to get the practice back to where it is today, and that's kind of how BarKing came to known, right?
That's right.
So tell us a little bit about how that happened.
So my father was 88 and had thought about cutting his hours back some, so Dr. Joanne King came in on Thursdays and helped him to cut his hours back some. He went on his last CE course to Dothan, Alabama, and had some few health problems, but he got pneumonia. And so the last year of his life, he was at home where my mother took good care of him. And Dr. King, we worked together at that time, and then tried to figure out what we were going to do. And I either had to sell the entire practice outright, or I had to be a partner in that. But not a equal partner in the state of Alabama. You have to be 51-49 or whatever structure you have.
And the professional has to be the higher
That's
end.
right. That's exactly right.
So that's interesting. So what I love about this story, just right off, is that basically you go from being the daughter of the owner, and the owner passes away, and then because you loved your dad so much and you appreciate what he was doing for his patients, that you actually took the minority role to keep his business going, right?
Well, that's
in
true.
Ownership, I would
No,
say.
well, that's true. That's I could hardly accept giving it up,
Sure.
and if I did not participate as part owner, then I felt like I would not have the say that was important to continue what my father started. He was old school, and old school worked for 65 years for him, so he had to be doing something right.
Well, when you say old school, I kind of see that you kind of carry some of that into today, I think. So when I was over there getting my eyes done, you know, you came out with the little paper chart, and you know, it had a manila folder, and you were flipping the pages.
I fight for those.
Yeah.
I fight for them.
And so, you know, that's kind of just keeping it real, right? I mean,
Well,
so why is it that you kind of stay with those old systems and y'all haven't sort of adopted some of the new systems?
You know, as I understand, some of the higher forces encouraged people to go to electronic records. They gave them a lot of money to do that.
Right.
But, you know, I don't like to go to a doctor's office and feel like I'm in a line like a, you know, I don't like
Sure.
that feeling, and I don't like for people to feel that way when they come in our office. I like for them to feel like they're family, and they are family, and so that's important.
Right.
And we are all brothers and sisters in the eyes of the good Lord. So I think that's we might make mistakes, but they're our mistakes. They're not computer mistakes, and I like having those people right there in my hand, so I can, you know, that's just important.
Well, I can tell you from experience, the whole reason that I invited you here was because you do feel like an extension of my family.
And
you know, and
to
I
me.
can tell you that your marketplace mission and what you're doing there by being friendly to people and helping them see things. You know, I think you help people see a lot more than what they need to see with their eyes. You know, a lot of times people already understand what they see with their eyes, but sometimes they don't see what other people see about them. And I think one of the best things that I've seen you do when I've been a part of just sitting in the lobby, maybe waiting on you to fit glasses for people, is that you actually are fixing a vision that they have about their self, that they can't see through glasses, but you can see them through yours. And you encourage them with those things. And, you know, I guess you've probably learned that from your dad. That's probably what you appreciated from him. And I think that's the part that you didn't want to let go of. And so I think what you do is you keep your dad's legacy alive because you're still showing people what they don't see about themselves. Many, many doctors can show somebody what they can't see physically.
Right.
But very few eyewear places can show somebody how to see themselves when they can't. So would you attribute that to your dad?
I would. I certainly would. And to caring, and, you know, that's a lost thing in and of itself in any medical field. Well, I say that. There's
Right.
some doctors that still do take that time, but insurance drives a lot. You
Right.
can't stay with people a long time because time is money, and you don't get paid for that. But you get paid in other ways that are more rewarding, and you can't put a dollar sign on that part to me.
Right.
You just can't. So yes, my father and my mother. My mother worked for my father for 30 years, so, and kept the books until she was 80.
Oh, dang.
And she's 99.
So she kept the books till 80. He was 88. So your dad was working at 88 and your mom was keeping the books.
She sure was.
That is amazing,
And
right?
she balanced it to the penny.
I'm sure of it,
She
right?
did. She sure did.
Wow.
I'm very blessed. I've had a wonderful, you know, my life's work came from both my parents, and my just the whole package,
Right.
from the good Lord. But through them, I was able to see that and hopefully give it to others that have maybe never
Yeah, had that opportunity,
right,
right?
or even introduced to it before, you know.
Well, you know, you bring up an interesting point, though. You know, a lot has changed whether you wanted it to or not. You can
Right.
keep a paper folder, you can keep a regular folder, but still, lots have changed since
Yes.
your dad was doing it and you were doing it.
Yes.
And I know we've had a couple conversations about something you brought up earlier about the challenges of insurance,
Right, right.
And so, you know, why don't you talk about just a little bit about how insurance keeps you from the original vision that you had with your dad and the way that he was able to handle
Right.
patients as opposed to the way you are.
Well, back in the day, just so to speak, you marked what was wrong, not everything that was right. You checked for everything, but you
Right.
marked, and then you documented what was wrong, not everything else, because everything else was good.
Sure.
So you have a lot of documentation, kind of like the teachers document. They have to document more than they have time to teach. And then you have so to speak, certain insurance companies, you bill for a certain amount. They cut automatically half or more on what they approve.
Right.
And then your patient's copay is the majority of what's paid.
Sure.
And they pay maybe $5 or $6, maybe sometimes more. But
Right.
so, I think for sure maybe some insurance reform needs to be
Sure.
in the near future, hopefully, and get back to where we can be taking care of people instead of.
Well, I think the good part is that what I've seen is my copay may not be covered, or my insurance may not be taken, but I'm taken care of.
Right.
Right.
That's right.
And my copay is, I feel like we're in it together. You get
Right.
what I'm saying?
Yes,
So
I do. Yes,
there's
sir.
a difference between you feel like you're out on a limb on your own, but somebody's actually in it. And what I love about BarKing is I think there's actual value outside of the copay. And so I think if I'm going to choose a place
Right.
where there's no copay, then I think I'm going to choose a place
Right.
where I feel like the value's added, whether the insurance can hold me down based on what I have to come out of pocket.
Right.
It absolutely reminds me that insurance can restrict us all from what we have to come out of pocket with, but it can't restrict us on what comes out of our heart.
No, that's right.
And I love that for you and for BarKing is the insurance companies hold you back from what you can do from a copay, but they don't hold your heart back.
No, they don't. And I felt sometimes that my heart's going to get me in trouble, but do you not listen to that? No, because I think that's a higher voice saying, are you going to not take care of that person because he can't pay that right at this time? No. Will I work with him on a layaway? Yes. Will I get him to see him? Yes. Will I repair his glasses? Yes. Will I charge him for all that? No. That's another thing. We take care of your glasses for as long as you've got them.
Right. Well, that's good to know.
That's right. You got plenty of them. Yeah, you sure do.
Well, I think some of these challenges that you're talking about kind of goes with the line that I heard you say your dad said, which is, I like a challenge.
He did.
So why don't you tell us a little bit maybe of a story maybe where you saw your dad's challenge, or where something where you say, hey, because I see you putting this into action now. So your dad's already said, I like a challenge. And I think for you and this insurance thing we're discussing, now you just see it as a challenge, right?
Well, his challenge were tough eyes. If you had somebody that came in, they
Right.
had a tough prescription, or they had two images out from each other, up and down or up and out. He'd check somebody 2 or 3 times and check them after he got the glasses. And
Right.
that was his challenge, was to get that person seeing. And easy patients were always welcome. It's like,
Yeah.
boy, I wish I had one of those every day.
Right.
But when you can get somebody, if you can imagine, driving and having 2 images up and out from each other, so you've got 2 lines, you're
I got you.
and people, drive down the
With
one
one eye
eye, that's
shut?
not good.
Right.
Right. So that's, helping people with whatever it is most important to see, or the medical part of it, to get it fixed, or encourage them not to be afraid, and
Right.
call out ahead and make sure that they take good care of that patient. That's important.
And maybe why this is maybe why you've said, maybe part of the plan is to struggle.
Yes. So we can turn it over to the big guy upstairs, because he doesn't want us to handle everything. I've had almost 62 next month, and I've always had to fix things, and that's good. I like doing that. But
Right.
I've come to the conclusion, actually, that I don't think the good Lord wants us to fix everything. I think he wants us to be able to turn it over to him to fix,
Right.
which is hard to do sometimes, but easy also once you start to do it.
Right. Well, I think there's a wonderful lesson in that, right?
Yes,
So the other struggle I heard you talk about was taxes.
right.
So in your business, maybe, and because we've got marketplace people listening, right? And we're all facing this tax issue from different
Right.
viewpoints. So maybe just speak a little bit to what is the part of the taxes challenge that you have from a business standpoint? Because, me and my boys actually consult companies about taxes,
Right.
and how to handle these taxes, and
Right.
profitability, or the lack
Right,
of profitability.
right.
So it's a wonderful thing to understand. So, and I think a lot of times we feel like we're on an island with it. Like my business is dealing with X, but actually we all are.
That's right.
And so, won't you tell us maybe what you're facing a little bit, where you don't have to divulge too much, but
No,
just
you're
in the taxes
fine. I'm
side.
like, are we going to have a tea party down here at the dock? Because that's where you feel.
Yeah, that's right.
And I guess the biggest one is the privilege tax, which it's not a huge tax, but
Right.
I've got to pay a privilege tax to be in business.
Right.
It doesn't make sense. It
Sure.
just doesn't make sense. There's so many taxes for small businesses every step you go.
Sure.
And that's, prices have increased and you have to meet that in order to stay open. But if you get it so high to where people can't afford it, you're going to close anyway. And then the tax on top of it. So I don't know what the answer is for that other than, I don't know. I have no idea what that
Right.
would be. But it is a struggle. It's hard.
So outside of that and kind of back into the employee side and the people that work with you, super sweet people that I've met. Of course,
Thank
Dr. King is really sweet,
She
right?
is. Very
and so, I love what you said about Dr. King. That Dr. King said this about you, I guess. She said, she taught me how to treat people. And that was an interesting compliment, right? And so maybe you could just tell us about the milestones and your team and how you met and how you keep the culture of your dad intact inside of the building for people who weren't a part of what your dad was a part of.
Well, we had very loyal people, and when we first had that transition, we were over in the old First National Bank building before we moved over to 9 Dolphin Street, and there would be occasion to where I would have patients that would come in and something may be said in front of a patient that was not necessarily a very positive thing towards
Right.
me. And they'd call me and they'd say, I just can't come back there if that's going to happen. I just can't come back there.
Wow.
And so I'd have to go to Dr. King and say, look, we're losing patients. And she said, well, I just didn't realize I was doing that because she's in that position. She's the shaker and the maker, and that's what she does. And so anyway,
Right.
we've had to grow, and for the most part, 4 females in an office is pretty tough
Cat
anyway.
fight.
You see my seat's out by the window. I'm
Right.
over there in the, but no, we've grown together quite
Sure.
a bit, and that's what it takes is to work together and pick and choose what you stand for.
And I'm sure you would say Dr. King's taught you some things as
She's
well.
taught
too,
me
right?
a lot of things. Yes,
Because
she
a lot
has.
of people who move into the, you're kind of the emotional,
That's so true.
you're the emotional driven person at work, right?
She's the
Because
realist.
I've seen you cry on the spot, I've seen you laugh, I've seen you do the thing. You're
Right.
kind of emotionally driven, and she's more discipline driven.
That's right. And I
so-
have to have that.
That's
or
right.
I'd give
And so
everything away.
I think, the same compliment that Dr. King has given you about how to treat people,
Right.
you would say, I think she's probably done equally as much for you when it comes to showing you how to discipline those emotions in a way so that it doesn't get unhealthy, right?
Well, not just the emotion, but you need to get your money up front or get a deposit. That's the realest part of it.
Sure.
Because I trust everybody.
Right.
That's my nature, but
Right.
that's not good business sense. So she's got great business sense. She's a great doctor, and she keeps me
Grounded.
grounded. Thank you. Yes,
Yeah.
she does.
Well-
But emotionally, I'm going to go where I'm going to go. I just have to.
Yeah, well, I can tell you, I didn't see much difference when it come to the care, personal care, when I left the lobby where you were and I went into the examination room where she was.
Mm-hmm.
So there wasn't like this stark difference between the way she treats people in
Right.
that room and the way you treat people. So I
No.
think y'all have done a wonderful job
Thank you.
at blending your personalities
you.
in. And I think that's showing up more and more in your business. And, I'm hoping that more and more people, as they listen, if you don't believe me, just go check it out for yourself, right?
Right.
And so I like also that you bring up a point that, a lot of these bigger optical companies, and now they're kind of looking as if they're kind of huge, right? I mean, so there's a lot of
Yes.
huge conglomerate type.
That's right.
And so they're outsourcing a lot of the glasses, they're
That's
outsourcing
right.
a lot of the things. And so, why don't you tell us about how you source some of yours and how you try to stay close to home, I think, right?
Well, I don't think we're ever going to have a great country again until we have things done in America. And both, my labs are in America.
Right.
And they're local, and I, most of the time, pick them up and check them out on my old 1951 lensometer that my dad got off the GI Bill. And if they're not right, I send them back.
Right.
Whereas if you have an in-house lab, and most of the time people don't even know how to check glasses out anymore, and they use a computerized thing, but they may let it slide if it's off a little bit, because that's something they'd have to eat because their lab is in-house.
Right.
Whereas if my lab gets it wrong and I check it out and it is wrong, I send it back and say, most of the time they won't send it to me if it's wrong, but sometimes, things slip by. Me too. I may
but you
make
can
a
locally
mistake.
get back at it. You don't
That's
have
right.
to
No.
hope that you get somebody in some foreign land
Oh,
where
no.
you have to figure it out.
Oh, no.
And you touched on something interesting, just for my knowledge and maybe for everybody else. So you talked about the old equipment your dad had.
Yes, sir.
Are these things that you still can use today? Are you still using any of that, or has it all kind of graduated somewhere else now?
So I know that computers are invaluable. They're so important to people, but those computers are only as good as the person that's working it. So the equipment that I use, you have to have the knowledge
Right.
to see what's in there. You have to dial it in. And so that is very useful. They don't sell them anymore. They don't sell them anymore.
So you hear that if you want to have this type of service, they don't have the equipment anywhere else. So you have to go to BarKing to figure these things out. And I can tell you one other thing that's super interesting, by the way, and that's the way that you bend glasses. So I don't know if you've ever had glasses before or when they go to bend them, but I want to tell you, you've probably never seen it bent the way she does. So she puts it in this, I'm gonna call it a sandbox for now, and you can—
It's a sandbox.
You can fix me. And she friction the glasses in there. I'm guessing or assuming to heat the glass.
Yes, sir.
Heat the glasses enough so you can bend it without breaking it.
Yes, sir.
So the friction creates the heat.
The pan is hot. The glass beads take on the heat.
Right.
And so you put it down in there at that time, but you can't, the reason I move it is if you leave it in there, it's so hot, it'll make a dimpled effect on the plastic or the lens. So we don't want that.
See, this is a level of expertise that you can only find with somebody who's had a dad who was in it for 88 years. And if you need probably somebody to help you with your books, her mother was the bookkeeper till she was 80 years old. So, yeah. So, I mean, I don't think there's probably any higher level of care than what you can find from what you're saying. And so, I think this conversation's been wonderful.
Thank you so much for
Did I
letting me come
leave
here.
anything out that maybe you want to bring up or remind everybody before we kind of step away?
No, but I do want to thank you again and your wonderful team here for having me over. I'm really overwhelmed with your kindness to have me on your show.
Well, I can tell you that you've been a wonderful addition to anything that Marketplace Mission is about.
Thank you.
And I love what your dad's line was. Charity starts at home.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
Well, I want to tell you, babe, where you spend most of your time over here at BarKing, this is your second home. And I want to tell you, charity starts there. And that's why I invited you here, because I want other people to see in the marketplace that your marketplace mission is wonderful. And what you represent is wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hayes. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for sharing your incredible journey and your insights with us. As we gather here today, I want to leave you with a thought that resonates deeply in our mission of service. Reflecting on the words of Pitts Brownback, our greatest strides in the world of cultural renewal will be made not in the area of politics, but in the families, communities, churches, and charities of America, one person at a time. We are reminded that true change begins at the grassroots level. Each of us have the power to impact our surroundings, to uplift our neighbors, and to strengthen our communities. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the scale of the issues we face, but let us not underestimate the significance of small acts of kindness and service like we've seen here today. Whether it's mentoring a child, volunteering at a local charity, or simply lending a listening ear to someone in need. Each action ripples outwards, creating a wave of renewal. So as we move forward, let us embrace this mission with renewed vigor. Let us commit to being present in our communities, to serve one another, and to recognize that each person we touch is a step toward a brighter future. Change is not a distant goal. It is the daily choice to act with love and purpose, one person at a time. Together, we can create a legacy of service that resonates far beyond ourselves, igniting a cultural renewal that inspires generations to come so that we can have more people understanding their marketplace mission, and so we can mirror the type of thing we saw here today. Thank you so much for the time and for what you represent, and I look forward to seeing you again in the future.
Thank you so much.
Thank you everyone for tuning in to Marketplace Mission. Don't forget to follow us on social media and leave us a review. Until next time, unleash power in your workplace.